What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. And this one we were definitely excited for in terms of like Halloween-themed horror movie-esque shit. Believe me, this one was way up on the list. We're going to go over the latest offering from Exhumed to the Dead. This comes out on the 21st of October on Relapse Records. This band formed in 1990 in San Jose, California. Now, this is their 9th full-length overall, or 10th if you count the gore metal re-recording that they did in 2015. And I would say these guys are pretty much deathgrind legends. They've been around forever. Start off as like primarily Carcass worship, still definitely worships at the altar of Carcass, but man, they've kind of just, have their own little thing going on with just gore, humor, and disgusting fucking death grind.
I mean, yeah, that pretty much hits the nail on the head, to be honest.
Right in the skull, so the brain meats leak out.
And, when you think of new album, you think of like, well, maybe the band's matured a little bit. They have, but then you look at the song titles and you're like,
Matured.
Matured. I mean, we get it. We met Matt Harvey.
Yeah,
we get it.
We're mature, like he's mature. We still laugh about the same goofy shit and talk about the same old horror movies, and none of that seems lame in any fashion at
look,
all.
man, we have a fart gun. Not gonna lie. We get more use out of that fart gun than people our age should. So
I'm so glad I didn't have to change the batteries yet.
I know.
It means there's tons of fart left in those batteries. I've been a fan of this band for a long time. I think I started with the album Slaughter Cult, and I was like, dude, this is just gory, disgusting, fast, fucking fun, and I've been hooked on them ever since. I pretty much own all their albums. Well, eventually I'm going to get this one.
Are you shocked?
Yeah, no one's shocked about that one. We've seen them live multiple times. They're absolutely fucking killer live, and needless to say, of course, we were super excited about this one when we heard the singles, and holy shit, this album is fast.
Yeah, fast doesn't even really... No, it doesn't even really describe it. I mean, right from the very get-go, there's no filler on this album. There's nothing. It just immediately is pummeling, and it keeps that pace throughout the entire album. While there's tons of groove all over this record, those are just pockets of groove. For the most part, this is just mind-numbingly fast. I am super tired for Mike Hamilton. Good God.
Yeah.
Good God.
The drum performance on here is one of the fastest I've heard. Like, this is faster than like the last 2 or 3 aborted albums, and that is fucking saying something.
Yes. Yep.
But that is also matched with like the ferocity of riffs on here. Hell, even the bass playing from Raw Sewage is just fucking gnarly, but everything about this just kind of screams old school Exhumed, like especially like the first 2 albums, Gore Metal and Slaughter Cult. But there's like, matured songwriting sort of vibe to it. Like, there's definitely more dynamics to it. They just come at you from all angles and really fucking quickly. But the songs maintain their fucking just flat out brutal, unrelenting nature, but they squeeze in hooks, which has to be a challenge because you're moving at 300 miles per hour at almost all times on this.
Yep, light speed. There are hooks. There's hooks all over this record. Songs like Neurotica and No Headstone Unturned have a lot of like harmonized Carcass type style hooks to them.
No one should be surprised about that.
And they definitely stand out, especially the one in No Headstone Unturned. That is straight Carcass worship all day long.
I mean, that is kind of what this band was born out of, but it's become just sort of an element of their sound because they've incorporated so many other things. And in terms of like their most recent stuff in their discography, I think this album kind of falls in an interesting spot. Their last album, Horror, was almost more of a grindcore album in itself. Like, it had death metal elements, but it was primarily grind. The songs were much shorter, like more in the 2-minute to a minute-and-a-half range. And then the album before that, Death Revenge, was almost more of a straightforward death metal album. This sees it kind of all come together in absolutely furious fashion, and it's just kind of cool hearing the death metal moments play off the more grindcore moments on here, and again with like a little bit more mature songwriting on it. Like Drained of Color, that song opens up with almost a more straightforward like bolt thrower groove. Actually, the riff screams fucking bolt thrower too. But that is like a good setup, and they actually bookend it because in between those 2 moments, it is blast beat fury and these just ridiculous fucking crawling riffs all over the place. It is such an intense song, but they managed to squeeze in cool hooks and fun vocal dynamics, which has always been a thing with Exhumed. But here it's almost a little bit more unpredictable because Ross and Matt have distinctly different voices, and they're both, well, fucking awesome.
Well, and it's almost like they're yelling at each other. It's almost like they're having a vocal fight with each other because, like he said, they're very unpredictable. Like, you'll get a bunch of death growls and you get high-pitched screams, and then you get a bunch of death growls and you get high-pitched... But they're like... It's almost like they're trying to overpower each other, like they're fighting.
It's like an ogre versus a fucking ghoul. And I don't know who won that one, but I really enjoy it because, like, before, like, you can kind of sense where, like, you know, Ross would come in versus Matt. And here it almost seems like it's kind of improvised in a way. Like, it's definitely meticulously planned out. I imagine they were like, oh, let's just kind of wing it on the fucking vocals. Like, you were saying something about a zombie, and I went, okay, and we'll hit it with a hammer or something. I don't give a fuck. But it's cool when they actually come together because their voices unified is just absolutely just disgusting. Like, Ross's lows have this otherworldly gurgle to them. And the fact that I think they added more reverb to the vocals on this album in particular kind of gives it like a more creepy vibe.
More of a creepy but kind of like raw feeling. Like, I imagine this is what it would sound like live.
I mean, it has sounded like this
it has
live.
sounded like this live. Not that I haven't seen Exhumed live, but I mean, like, it just seems more natural.
Now, one thing I thought was really interesting, and this is what they had listed on the archives, was that a lot of ex-members of Exhumed actually contributed to the songwriting on here. We have Leon Del Morte from Impaled, Matt Widener from Creedon, Mike Beams of Mortuous, and Bud Burke of Scarecrow, which were all at one point members of Exhumed, and I'm not sure where they contributed on songs on here, but it was kind of a cool thing just to see, like, oh wow, these guys are all dudes from the fucking past here that are helping out. So, I don't know, I guess, like, you know, Exhumed is still, like, pretty open to having, like, their old dudes come in. It was kind of cool to, like, see all those names pop up and was like, wait, those all sound fucking familiar.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna write a record like this, because it obviously sounds like they were having fun. Underneath all the theatrics of gore and goop and all that jazz, it doesn't sound to me like nobody was having any fun. Like, it definitely comes out in the songs that everyone was having a good time.
I mean, how can you not have fun with song titles like Undertaking the Overkilled and Putrescine and Cadaverine, which sounds like a happy couple, or proof that love stinks, and Necrotica. I like that song, even though I wanted to make that my OnlyFans, but now they took it, so I can't. But
damn it.
I know.
I'm sure people
You're disappointed, mainly, right?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to see the... Sorry. Who doesn't want to see the... Who doesn't want to see this guy without pants?
The gags choke off the massive erection that he has right now.
No.
Another thing that I absolutely love about this album is the lead work on here. And an interesting thing, like, it starts off more like shreddy dive bombs, Matt and Sebastian sort of like pairing off and going back and forth. And you hear melodies in there, like they're really catchy melodies, but for the most part, it's very intense. It's very shreddy, and that kind of matches the, well, album, because the album's just insanely fast. But towards the end of this album, like actually around Necrotica, it kind of shifts to more melodic epic solos. Like, I kind of noticed that, like, all of a sudden the solos just get more tuneful. They're a little bit longer too, and the bridges that they appear on, because that is generally where they show up, are a little bit more ornate. Like, it's not just like, all right, we slowed it down just for this moment so you can have a groovy moment and not a blast moment to solo over.
Actually, especially in the song Defecated, which overall is a more slower grooved song, but they have two leads in here, and both of those leads play over a really just like groovy pocket where it is slow, and it lets these leads shine a little bit more, and instead of being a collection of shreddy notes and just I don't want to say there's a lot more to it melodically because they're not that long, but you can tell there's a little bit more feeling going into these.
That song is definitely the shit.
Ho ho.
They write plenty of songs. I'm allowed to make at least one.
I mean,
but
sure.
I love that song too. And I mean, honestly, like, there wasn't a song in here that I didn't like. Like, everything is so bullet trained pace, and it keeps your fucking adrenaline up the entire time. There's really no lag in energy. In fact, maybe I would say, like, a drawback is maybe there's too much energy. Like, this is just insanely fucking fast and aggressive, and sometimes it kind of loses you, like, some of the transitions, because it is just fucking going.
Well, instead of drinking Mike's coffee, he just gave everyone a bag and said, eat this.
Snort it!
Snort my coffee. Coincidentally, if you've never had Mike Hamilton's coffee, it is really fucking tasty.
Why are these coffee grounds white?
Right? Huh?
Why do I feel like I can bench press that car?
I mean, it is that kind of pace. Like, if you drink a bunch of coffee and were to play music, that would be it. Even in the parts where it does get groovy and slow down a little bit, I mean, they're just right back at it. They don't let you forget for a second that it's grind.
No. But at the same time, there are really cool riffs and melodies that you can distinctly pick out in that fucking just blast beat fest that is this album. The last track, Disgusted, has some of the most catchy riffs on it. There's lots of crawling melodies on there. Again, that lead section on there is great. And then you have the flat-out grindcore fits like Undertaking, The Overkill, and Carbonize, which don't even hang out for 3 minutes. They just come in, whoop your ass, and then fucking leave. And I don't know, like, this album is like just condensed Exhumed. Like, it is like probably one of the most violent albums they've put out in a while. And I know I've kind of liked their recent trend of actually incorporating more dynamics, more melody, and like more intricate songwriting. But at the same time, there's something about Exhumed when they get flat out primal that is absolutely fucking wonderful.
So that brings us to having to rank this album. I don't want to say I'm an Exhumed fanboy, but god damn it, I love this band. And I think everyone knows here that at least Necrotic Nick and myself are giant deathgrind fans and grind fans in general. I'm gonna give this record a 4. It's impossible not to have fun while listening to this band, first of all. The fact that this record is just mind-numbingly fast at all times, just, I mean, seriously, just exhausted. I'm exhausted for everybody in the band, mostly Mike. Man, how do you do it? It's a ton of fun. Each song brings its own special batch of things to the table. Believe it or not, I like the shorter songs. The barn burners on this album I think are fucking killer. But overall, I really don't have that many... I really don't have any complaints. When we first started listening to this, we had the bass up on the speaker, which was a bad move. Once we turned the bass off, I don't have any problems with the production. It's fun. I just had fun. I give it 4 based on the fact that I had fucking fun.
I'm also going to go with a 4 here. Holy shit, this album's fucking nuts. I think I gave Horror 4 too, but that's like a different one. Again, this is like a different album than the last one, and I kind of like that. And despite that last one being more of a grindcore album, somehow this album's even faster and more aggressive. That is kind of the thing I like about this. This is a no bullshit fucking death grind album that pretty much is breaking the speed limit at all times and does not give a fuck if there are any cops around. It still remains hooky. It still embodies everything that I love about Exhumed. It has touches of their older sound. It definitely has their more modern songwriting approach on it. Like, this is just a great balanced album. There are tons of fucking punny song titles and just a great mix of humor and gore. If you're a fan of horror movies and extreme music, there's a good chance you already had this pre-ordered. I'm gonna have to order my copy because unfortunately neither of my record stores had it. I love this album. This is another killer one from Exhumed. If you love Exhumed, you're going to love this. I just don't see any way around it. Everything that you love about Exhumed is there. The awesome fucking vocal fucking splits between Matt Harvey's shrieks and fucking Ross Suge's demon barfs. They're all fucking amazing. Again, Mike put in a performance that would probably kill a lesser man. So I'm glad you survived that shit. And yeah, the fucking riff work and the lead work, like everything's fucking killer on here. Go check this out. Exhumed fucking rules. And that's about all I got to say there.
So, if you like what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We are also on Patreon. If you go to thrallsofmetal.com, you will see encased within a link for our Patreon, as well as some of our merch. When I say some of our merch, there are only shirts there. However, there will be hats appearing, and I believe...
Grenades.
What the fuck? There might even be grenades. He seems to think they're going to be grenades. I will... One way, shape, or form, I think we're going to make grenades happen. I don't know if they're going to be actual grenades, but we will make grenades happen. Also, stay tuned with us for Denver Death Fest updates. They're coming now. We've been talking the last few days about what we're finally going to fucking put out there and release as far as bands that are on the bill, and we're getting there. So just hang tight with us another couple weeks or so, and we should definitely have something for you concretely, so you can go ahead and join us there for that. Last but not least, we get to the thank you portion of the video where me and this guy awkwardly thank you. Thank you, all of you, for continuing to show up and subscribe and come chat and hit us up with random messages in the middle of the night. And, it's become a living, breathing entity that is Thralls of Metal, and the metal community that we are creating is one that I am grossly fond of. I know this guy is also grossly fond of it, but thank you to each and every one of you. Yeah, Nick's actually fond of things, believe it or not. Underneath all this gruff, gray hatred and disgustingness is
gray hatred. Why don't you take off your hat?
Why don't you shut the fuck up? He thanks you. He thanks you. I thank you. Thank you.
My
so
thank
much.
bank is so full for you.
Oh, that is gross.
So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and we will catch you later.